everybody, it's Lavender Town, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of a send-off to art school by talking about it again. I'm going to be discussing the 5 types of art students that I either met or was back in art school. So without further ado, let's go. The first type of art student I'm going to talk about is the most common one, the Walking Dead. Basically, they have dark circles that raccoons would be envious of. Their diet is 80% junk food, coffee, energy drinks, and paint water. If you're looking for this type of art student in the wild, you will find them sleeping on couches in the middle of the day, or looking dead-eyed long into the distance on crit day. I may or may not have been this type of student in second semester, when I had a job where I had to be up until 4 a.m. and I had 6 classes. It was brutal. I barely remember that time in my life, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone because no piece of artwork is worth your health, and I know I always say that, but it's really true. So if you find yourself becoming this type of art student, I would say take a nap and take a seat if you have to. It's not going to destroy your career, and it's going to make you feel a lot better to take that nap than to get a slightly better grade. And if you want proof of that, just look around in your next critique at the dead eyes of the all-nighter kids. Now, the Walking Dead type is pretty common, but there's another common type that's the exact opposite. This is the kid who always comes in to critique when something is due, and they say that their computer crashed and they lost everything, weeks worth of content just down the drain because they had an unfortunate technological accident or something to that effect. And the first couple of times you just feel super bad for them because you're like, you believe them, and it seems like that would be really sad and disappointing to lose all that work. But then around the 4th or 5th or 9th or 10th time that they come in with this story, both you and the teachers are starting to wonder if perhaps they're just not doing their work, which is usually it. Ironically, both of these stark opposites happen to have the same core problem, which is usually perfectionism. Not always, but sometimes perfectionism can either make you run yourself into the ground, like with The Walking Dead, or it can make you avoid things altogether. I knew a few different students who I knew they had the time because I could see them playing video games on Steam, first of all, because I was their Steam friend and I knew that they were doing other stuff. But also because I knew that they had actually put in a lot of work and they were refusing to show it during critique because I think they were nervous to put up something that they didn't think was perfect. So instead, they turned in nothing. Another type of art student that I might have been, especially when I was first starting out, is the anime kid. So you might be surprised to know that when you go to art school, you find a huge amount of anime fans. And it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. A lot of us got into drawing when we were little kids because we watched anime. So it makes sense that there's going to be some pretty hardcore and passionate anime fans showing up in your art school classes, much to the chagrin of many classically trained art teachers. As a result, if you are trying to find this type of art student in the wild, you will find them in a death match with their teacher trying to explain to them why anime is not a terrible art form. There are some teachers who have no problem with it, and others who are so adamantly against it that they will immediately fail you if they see anything anime related in your work. In fact, I even had problems with that a little bit in my own classes, even though my style is more Western cartoon than it is anime. If they saw too much anime influence, I would definitely get a talking to. There's a lot of reasons why I think that's wrong, but that's a video for another day. Because of this clash between the teachers and the students about whether or not anime is good, there's actually 2 types of this kind of art student. The first, and the one I'm actually drawing right now, is the hardcore, open, out-of-the-closet weeaboo. They just love anime and they're not afraid to show it in their art and in their dress. They will cosplay on Halloween, right to school, and they have no fear, which is kind of admirable in a weird way. And they are the ones who will have these big debates with the teachers about the merits of anime. The other type is the secret anime fan. They hide their love of the medium from their teachers and even from other students sometimes. And every once in a while, they'll make a reference or something and look around and you'll meet their eyes and you'll give them the secret anime fan nod and you'll be bonded for life. You may think I'm kidding until you get there. It's a real thing. The next type of the student is one that actually wants to have an argument with the teacher, but they rarely do. It's the edgy shock artist. They're usually dressed in mostly black, or they have a shirt on from some popular Adult Swim show like Rick and Morty or something. And the sole point of their art is to surprise you or shock you. That's why they call them shock artists. They usually are trying to provoke some kind of reaction, though ironically, the anime kids are the ones who really have to argue their case and defend themselves, whereas the shock artists rarely get much of a rise out of the teachers, probably because the teachers have seen it all before. They love 3 things mainly: blood, nudity, or some horrifying combination of the two that would get me in trouble with the YouTube Terms of Service. We are on to the final type of art student that I met at art school. So this last type I didn't interact with too much because I got separated into the design half of the school, but at my school there were 2 halves. There was the fine arts side and the design side, and basically we were separated by the fact that the design side was to prepare you to work in the industry for clients, and the fine arts side was preparing you to basically submit your art to galleries and do your own self-directed stuff. And for some reason there was a huge feud between the design and the fine arts side, and a lot of the fine artist students were really nice actually, but there were a few that were super stuck up, and they would say terrible things about the designers. And this is our final type, basically, the stuck up artist who has a super specific idea of what art is and isn't afraid to tell you that they don't think your art is real art. And now I'm going to tell you a quick story about an actual person I saw doing that. Basically, she made this big post about how artists really need to think beyond paintbrushes and stuff and use outside the box thinking instead of being so predictable. And it was this super long paragraph, and I remember thinking like, wow, I'm surprised that this was like on an introduce yourself kind of thing for the college. And I was surprised that she was so cocky and, telling people what to do and that kind of thing. And then I scrolled down to see the picture, the work that she had attached to this big paragraph about using unusual tools and all that. And it took me a moment to figure out what it was, but it was it looked like 2 big blobs of paint on a white sheet of paper. And then I realized this girl who had been saying basically that all our art was really predictable, what she had done was just paint. Well, she took her shirt off and she put paint on her chest, and she just lay down on top of her piece of paper, and they were imprints of her chest. So yeah, there's a story to wrap things up on. So yeah, to wrap things up, art school is a crazy place full of weirdos, and I think that's what makes it so special. Which one did you identify with most? Obviously I framed it as art students, but actually most of these could apply to just artists in general. If you have an idea for my next video, please leave it in the comments, because I often look in the comments when I'm stumped and I can't think of anything, so that would help me out a lot. And otherwise, I'll just see you next video, and have a great day. Bye! Big thank you to my patrons, including Heart Sprinkle, Muffins McGee, Paynamel, Adrian Delport, Violet Wilkes, Chartype, Den, Brock, Juan Alvarez, blah blah blah, Adrian Morales, at Lives Likes to Draw, and Kate Meekins. Thank you so much for your support.